It's episode 26 of the Toadstool Boardroom for the week of November 30th, 2022. My name's Logan Plant, and I'm joined this week by O'Dell Harmon Jr.
Hey, everybody.
Chris Shriver not with us this week. He's off in house repair land. He'll be gone next week too, but hopefully he'll be back for our final show of the year coming up in 2 weeks. Also, right off the top here, wanted to mention Smash World Tour shutdown is a big deal going on right now. We're not talking about it this week. I'm potentially trying to line up a guest for that topic for next week. So we will talk about it. It's a big deal in the Nintendo world. If you haven't heard what's going on, go just type in Smash World Tour and you'll see about a bunch of event cancellations and some not too great stuff going on in the Smash community. But this week we are going to talk about O'Dell's extended thoughts on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Splatoon 3 second season, which is underway, but let's get it kicked off with the second trailer for Illumination and Nintendo's Super Mario Brothers movie, which dropped earlier this week, and it is looking pretty great. I think that's the general consensus here. The Direct, we got Peach and Donkey Kong were heavily featured in the Direct and in this trailer, and the trailer showed a lot of new stuff, O'Dell, including a battle between Mario and DK, Peach and Toad going off to face off against Bowser. There was a lot of references like Tanuki Mario, Fire Peach. An interesting thing is it looks like Luigi is the one that needs rescuing in this movie instead of Peach, which very good call there, guys. I really, really like that. There was a lot of Yoshis, some Cheeps, and then the huge Mario Kart tribute at the end where they were all driving across Rainbow Road with a ton of Kongs and Kiddy Kong from Donkey Kong Country 3 was there? So some crazy references and stuff. But O'Dell, what'd you think of trailer number 2?
All right, before I say that, go anything about the trailer, I just want to say this before I forget. Home Repair Land sounds like the golden era of DS title. That sounds like a game that was on the DS back in the and now that is my headcanon that Home Repair Land is one of those forgotten great titles of the DS. But no, okay. I thought it was great because I legit got chills during this trailer twice. The first trailer, the reveal, if you will, just like, it looks amazing. I thought it looked cool. But so the big chill I got was at the end. You like said the Rainbow Road, seeing it was cool. We're gonna have some Mario Kart, paying homage to that. But then you see Peach and her racetrack suit. She's there, Toad's there, and then Donkey Kong's there, and the other Kongs, and then probably some other characters I didn't notice. So I didn't freeze frame it and look for everybody. But I was like, oh man, that hit home because. Fun fact, Logan. I never told anyone about this. This is I have a fan fiction for Mario Kart I written, and I wish I had animators and stuff because I wrote a whole what will be a 30-minute mini movie Mario Kart fan fiction with an epic conclusion and everything. I'll give you.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint, people. Yoshi wins by eating the blue shell at the last second and having it explode in his mouth as he drives across the finish line.
Whoa!
Yeah. So the whole Mario Kart thing it reminded me of the fan fiction. I was just like, oh man. And then the other part where I got chills was it seemed like they were going on an epic adventure. I love the thing, like you said, Peach is I'm gonna take a role in trying to save my kingdom. Toad, a brave Toad is with her, and it's cool. It's the Mario movie, but it's really everyone in the Mario universe seems to be playing a huge role. I enjoy seeing Cranky during the Donkey Kong fight as well. So I'm okay, I am liking the direction this movie is going in. I'm happy it's not just going to be it's the Mario show with just, cameos from everyone else we love. There seems to be a legit storyline, time and effort went into this. If Chris Pratt's voice is the worst thing in this movie, then it's still a 9 out of 10 in my mind.
Which I would still say it is based on the 2 trailers that I still wasn't sold. He gives his little wahoo at the end on the Mario Kart track, and I think the internet collectively cringed a little bit at that. I don't think it really sounded great. But I'm with you, O'Dell. Everything else in this looks awesome. It is just stuffed with references that, I don't know, it just feels like a really fleshed out version of the Mushroom Kingdom. And I'm a big fan of the Sonic movies. I really like the first and second Sonic movie, but Sonic movie 1 kind of feels just like a kid's movie, a kid's adventure with Sonic thrown into it, right? There's some references here and there, but Sonic isn't really surrounded by anyone else from his games except for Eggman, who even in that first movie doesn't really look like him until the very end. But then you kind of compare that to this movie where it's right out of the gate, everything feels like Mario. There's references everywhere. He's going through platforming levels. He's getting hit in the face by a Cheep while he's on a bridge that looks like the levels from the first Super Mario Brothers game. Like, it is just stuffed with stuff that all looks very, very cool. And I'm very excited about the direction that they're taking Peach. Like I said, kind of at the top of this conversation, that with Miyamoto's involvement, I guess I kind of thought it was going to be a more traditional Mario has to save the princess kind of story, because in all the games Miyamoto oversaw in the Mario universe, that's how it plays out, right? Peach is kidnapped by Bowser, Mario saves her. That's the formula. But to see them kind of giving her a larger role in this, and kind of seems like the main trio that you're with during the movie is Mario, Peach, and Toad. I think that that's great. On the way to presumably save Luigi, it looked like, right? They're going through kind of that like vortex thing, and Mario reaches out and grabs him. And we also see Luigi kidnapped by Bowser, and he rips off a hair of his mustache. Like, I think that was a really smart direction to take it, especially because Luigi, being kind of the quirky, scaredy cat character that he is, I think will be really funny in that role when he's like the interactions with Bowser we saw. So yeah, I'm excited about the direction they're taking this thing. And if it weren't for this show and other parts of my job, I'd be done watching stuff for this. I'm like, I've seen enough at this point. They showed so much in this trailer, O'Dell.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how I felt about the design. Like, the world looks beautiful. I wasn't sure how I felt about the design of the characters. That's gone out the window. I love Luigi's design is 10 out of 10. There's something about Peach's face that doesn't sit right with me. I don't know what's off-putting about it. Maybe it's slightly too human, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, I thought it was real interesting how they referred to Peach and Mario and them as humans in the trailer. Like,
yeah.
Since after Odyssey, I feel like it's almost canonical that they're not humans at this point.
So what are they?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're denizens of the Mushroom Kingdom.
Maybe humans just look different there. They're just much shorter and rounder than, I don't know. Peach looks more like a human than Mario does.
I think that's what cause she looks more human than Mario. Like, Mario and Luigi, they look human, yes, like, we know, but like, she looks like almost too human compared to how everyone else looks cartoony, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Honestly, and then they had the big deal with the new design for Donkey Kong. I'm not super in love with it. I get what they're going for, trying to make him kind of more reminiscent of arcade Donkey Kong, which they nailed. He does look more like that original sprite, but I'm just not a huge fan of kind of the illuminationified version of DK. I'm excited he's in the movie, though. I'm becoming a bigger and bigger DK fan. But he beats the crap out of Mario.
Yeah, no, it's funny because they're like, look at this new design of DK, and I was like, he just got hit with that anime ray gun. That's he just looks very, very anime, for lack of a better term. But it was. But I also feel like if they didn't draw attention to it, like, beforehand, like, look how different he's gonna look. I don't know if I would have noticed that much.
Yeah, because everyone looks a little different, right? Like, they made a big deal. This is the first redesign of Donkey Kong since he became a 3D model. And I don't know, maybe I'm reading into it a little bit too much, but them specifically saying that and calling out that he was redesigned, like, everybody was redesigned. Peach was redesigned, Mario and Luigi were. Toad pretty much looks like Toad, but all the other characters kind of have this new look for this movie. O'Dell, am I reading into that too much, or is Miyamoto kind of teasing, hey, maybe we see this redesigned Donkey Kong in something else next year?
I'm with you on this because, again, it like you said, it felt weird, like, especially the words, the first redesign since its 3D model, and the first thing I thought was like, that can't be true. I mean, okay, yeah, 64 graphics, don't like translate the best, but I'm like, I feel like that can't be true just by the nature of graphics. But yeah, the fact that they made a point to say that, and they kept focusing on, like, look how different it looks, look how whimsical, I'm like, this for a character that had not one line in the trailer, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was a hyper fixation. So I'm with you on there. Like, if you're not teasing us, leading us to believe something, then what were you doing?
Yeah, and then even, so they had the little direct presentation, right? And Miyamoto was wearing a different shirt before, and then after the trailer aired, he was wearing a Donkey Kong shirt. And then he talked about Donkey Kong's redesign. And I know that, like, Reggie wears pins, Miyamoto wears shirts, whatever. But with this, kind of the emphasis on the redesign. We know he's getting a theme park. There's rumors he's getting a movie after the Mario movie. Next year's got to be the year for a DK game. It's been such a long time. It'll have been 9 years next year since Tropical Freeze originally came out. And I don't know. I think they want to push DK to be a little bigger again. And I think next year's the time. And I'd really love to see it because I love Tropical Freeze. I love Donkey Kong. He started to become kind of my main in like Mario Party or Mario Kart. I've been picking him a lot more lately. And I'm just ready for some new Donkey Kong. So maybe I'm reading into it because it's what I want. But I also do think that it makes sense. It makes sense for a new DK coming up soon.
No, it does. I mean, honestly, with any of Nintendo's core franchises outside, Mario, Zelda, maybe Kirby. Like, I feel like any of those games... Okay, if Kirby and the Forgotten Lands could do 10 million, I feel like any other franchise could do 10 million.
Yeah, if it's a 3D DK platformer, yeah, absolutely it could. I think it could be really big.
And I mean, based off how much you and Chris love F-Zero, I'm convinced they'll do 10 million.
I don't think so. I mean,
Metroid did I imagine last time we said it was at like 9 million, I believe?
Metroid Dread?
Yeah.
No, that's at 3. That didn't blow the doors off anything. Yeah, that's at like 3 million. It's the best-selling Metroid game, but it did not do what people wanted to.
Oh, then F-Zero.
I think Metroid Prime will do better than Dread did, though. I think that a Prime 4, a 3D game, will be 3 million.
I mean, if we ever see that, but I mean, I guess that's a conversation for another day. Oh, yeah, F-Zero could do probably 5. I feel like it's a racing game. People like it's simple to understand. Unlike Metroid, which has this history and like a crazy play style. I mean. If Sonic Transformed Racing 2 Hedgehog Edition can do 10 million, F-Zero can do 5. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, so that's the Mario movie trailer. I'm excited about it. Comes out next April. It's looking good, and I hope that it means more for my guy Donkey Kong coming up. But let's get into Pokemon this week, because last week I went off for a very long time about Scarlet and Violet, but O'Dell, you'd only played like a couple hours at that point, but I get a sense that that's changed when I check my friend list online. It's pretty much O'Dell's on playing Pokemon. So how far in are you now?
So I have 3 badges. I've taken down 2 Titans. I'm on my way to take on the next Operation Starfall Team Starbase. Hour-wise, I'm definitely over 10. Nintendo does that weird thing where it's like, you've had this game for 8 days. I don't know how long it takes for it starts populating your hours, but by
10 days still.
Yeah, by my estimation, I'm probably like in the area of 12 to 15.
Okay.
And so what I can say is, first and foremost, disclaimer, I have the cartridge. I am not playing a digital copy of the game. I am playing it on an OLED. So my performance issues compared to the wave of, just bugs and glitches, I just have not experienced. I am well aware that, I could be in the minority there, or it could be 50-50, don't know. But my personal time there, the performance issues have been solely limited to just frame rate, the occasional long load time, but no hard crashes, no glitches, no Pokemon doing weird things. Camera clipping, but I mean, it's an open world game. That happens. So I'm just going to say, in terms of performance, as someone who has talked about their love of Hyrule Warriors, it is much better than that in my mind. Not crapping on Hyrule. I'm just saying, it's my experience. It's been a point where it's doable. Like, we're not talking like a situation where like, oh, I just love Pokemon, so I'm ignoring them. I'm just like, no, like, I've had games where like it was so bad it impacted my enjoyment of this. This is kind of like, it's going to be some frame rate issues. This should be better. I docked some points, but definitely not hindering the experience. With that said, though, I have been having a blast enjoying this open world. It's not Breath of the Wild levels, It doesn't look gorgeous from, the foreground to the background, all that good stuff. But I've had moments. One of my highlights so far, a rainstorm happened at night, and there were Driftlooms around, and they blew away in the wind, like not higher, like they blew literally away. And in other flying Pokemon, you would see them struggling to either try to land or like struggling to win and also getting blown away. And it was just that level of detail just made the world so much more engaging. And I've had other moments like that where I've seen Pokemon interact differently depending on what Pokemon's around them, what time of day, the weather, what you're doing. And I just think it's those little details, like also and it could be in the bad way, like with the performance issue, but it's those little details that really elevate this game for me. And the thing is, I haven't personally seen any people talk about that, and I feel like you should like watching Pokemon interact with other Pokemon, interact with the world, and interact with you. Watching Pokemon battle each other has just been a real fun experience. And some Pokemon, like I'm really impressed that with the issues it does have, that they've animated all these things, all these to incorporate all these different scenarios. Like light spoilers, but there's a new Pokemon. It's like a tree tarantula thing. It ambushes you. Like it will literally hide in the tree and then try to pounce on you. And then it's also like has a ninja thing, so like it'll spin out some silk and like do like the steel wire like gonna choke you thing, and like try to sneak up on you. And I was like, this is really cool. But then the other side of that coin is you put Pokemon to sleep and their eyes don't close. That bothers the hell out of me. Like I don't know if you've seen that, but and so it's one of those things where it's like two steps forward, one step back. Where I'm like, there are legit moments that make this game shine, and there are plentiful. And I'm just gonna say, like, I think if I'm gonna talk about the bad, I gotta talk about the good. And there's a lot of good things in here that I'm hoping patches come and make it even better. But the world is really engaging. It is the most engrossing Pokemon world I've ever experienced. And yes, I mean more so than Legends. And I'm not even talking about the battle aspect of it, because like Logan, like there's like what 4 trainers and like a 2-mile radius.
Yeah.
So and there's a part that makes me feel like Legends, because like you said, I have this like compulsion to catch every Pokemon area. I really want to complete my Pokédex. There was a time I think I spent 3 hours just catching Pokemon. That's all I really did, just exploring the areas and catching Pokemon. And Paldea is just a fun place to explore. And I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and act like the problems aren't problems, because they are. But I feel like, based off what I've seen, what I've read, I feel like no one's really giving it the just dessert. It's desserts as well. Like, yeah, it's easy to crap on the performance issues. Like, yeah, there are problems and stuff. But there's some things that work really well here that no other Pokemon game has done. And I think that's worth mentioning.
Real quick, I'll circle back to performance briefly, because you bring up Hyrule Warriors, which, yeah, it's choppy in its frame rate. It's a much more beautiful world, and there's a lot more going on, right? I think with my problem with Pokemon Scarlet's performance is that it's not even visually ambitious. I would call it at times a fairly ugly game. Like I think that when you're in one of the areas on the kind of right side of the map, that's not the desert, but it's kind of like the cliff area, and it's just brown, and it's just like one texture, one shade of brown, your entire draw distance. That's all you see. And I'm like, that's just, and it runs choppily. So like, I agree. It's not game breaking by any means. Like it is, the frame rate is playable. And you did mention you have a physical copy. This is something that we should kind of put out there too. Haven't really seen this confirmed anywhere. I don't know enough to say this for certain, but it has seemed like people playing off of the micro SD card who buy the game digitally and install it on their Switch external SD card are having way more performance issues than people who move the game to their internal storage or play it right off the physical card. It seems like playing off the cart is the best way to avoid, like, I've played for almost 20 hours and I've experienced none of the insane stuff that people were kind of posting on the day the embargo lifted. That's because all these reviewers got a digital copy from Nintendo and played it that way. And it's like, it's interesting that this is a case where that seems to have hurt this game's review cycle, because you saw that video floating around probably, O'Dell, of like they throw a Pokeball at a Psyduck and it literally like freezes, like it's running at like 1 frame a second for like 10 seconds straight as it catches the Psyduck. I have seen nothing like that. Yeah, it's choppy, it doesn't run great, but I agree that it's playable. It's interesting that that's kind of a difference here, playing off the SD card versus not.
Yeah. I don't know, clearly we weren't, in the boardroom or nothing. That boardroom at Game Freak. But
yeah, we were in this one, yeah.
The thing is, the way I feel based off what you're saying is true, like you look in the distance and there's some cool vistas and stuff. The lighting in this game is actually pretty damn good. I'm surprised, there's moments where I'm like, why is the lighting so good in this game? It just feels weird to have the lighting be that good and then everything else around it not, but
And then sometimes the shaders will completely shut off. Like, it looks nice, and it's like, it's just going back and forth.
Yeah, and
you ruined it, but it's okay.
So I finally encountered a Magmaton today. I saw a Magnemite, but I saw a Magneton today. And I was thinking this for a while, but Magneton basically confirmed it all but true in my mind. I think the art direction here was to make the Pokemon look as great as possible, because the Pokemon models look good in Wild. They look good up close. They look good. They just look good from A to Z. And I saw Magneton. I'm like, Magneton looks like he's in like rendered in true 4K, like gorgeously detailed. Like he was reflecting the trainer's clothes and face, and like how Pokemon run around you while you're battling, like reflecting like the Pokemon. And I'm like, why is he so good? Like this, like I don't even need it to be this level of good. And I was like, it's true. All the Pokemon, like I saw Gyarados in the wild, and it looked stunning. Like it was flying, swimming, flying. The thing that Gyarados does. And I'm like, the beach that it was on in comparison looked like trash. Like he looked so good that everything around him looked like trash. And I wonder if like they were so worried about focusing on getting the Pokemon just right. Which I mean, it's the namesake. If you're gonna make one thing look great, it's gotta be the Pokemon. Did everything else suffer? Did they not have any? I just want to know. Like, my headcanon for this, which is the word of the day in this episode for me, because I keep using it, but is that they focused so hard on making sure the Pokemon were rendered just perfect that everything else fell by the wayside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game, they just didn't have enough time. Like, clearly. Which we talked about last week. Like, I still feel this way a week later. It's either time for them to scale back a little bit on their release schedule, outsource more to other companies. They can't keep doing this way. Like, they can't keep cranking out a game or a major DLC every single year. It's just not going to work anymore. Because this game broke the camel's back for me, I think.
Oh, no, that's definitely something. So the thing I'm wondering now is, Sword and Shield basically showed us that the Pokemon's company is ready for, we're not doing the third game release model no more. At least I don't think we are. We're going with live updates, live game as a service, whatever you want to call it, however they want
Major DLC expansions with, what was it called? The Tundra?
The Crown Tundra and the Isle of Armor.
There it is.
Yeah, so assuming, that is the business model going forward, we're not going to regress into, a third release. Do you see this game being a completely different game a year or two from now? Like, major, along with whatever DLC they have planned, like seeing like a major, basically just update to fix all the technical issues? Or you think, like, they're not going to be addressed, we're not going to hear anything. A year from now, 2 years from now, this is going to be the same game it is now, just with DLC.
I could see it going either way, because I think to some extent, this is what it's always going to be. I don't think it will ever be significantly improved. Maybe they can fix some of they will definitely fix some of the extreme issues people are having, like trainers growing to the size of buildings and all these things. They will fix those. But in terms of just the performance, I think this is kind of what it is, which, again, it is playable. It's not a gorgeous game. I think that it's definitely true that we lower our expectations visually for this series, because you come on the show and you're like, yeah, it's not that bad. It's like, hold it up against any other modern game that's not a Pokemon game, and it looks very bad. Like, right? But it's still fun, which at the end of the day is what matters most to you and me. It's not really what matters to Chris, who isn't here. But yeah, like if you hold like up Pokemon to even any other game on Switch this year, look at freaking Splatoon 3. I was playing that earlier. That game is absolutely gorgeous. And then you compare it to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and it's like, man, this game is rough. It looks aged, and it doesn't run well. But I do think we're going to get major DLC next year. I don't think that the churning out of content is going to stop, because, I mean, look at what it sold. It sold 10 million in 3 days. I don't think that's going to stop them. Maybe after this is when they take a break, but yeah, we're seeing the same thing with Sonic Frontiers right now. It just got a roadmap of DLC for the next year, which I am absolutely thrilled about. And maybe that's going to fix some of its like pop-in issues as well. We'll see. But I would like it to get major performance updates. But knowing Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, they'll probably already have a significant amount of people working on whatever's next, in addition to working on the content side of the DLC that's coming out next year, assumedly. So I don't know how many resources are really going to be dedicated to making this thing look or run better. I kind of think this is what it is.
So you think it's purely a time issue? Like you don't think there's no way they can like just throw personnel at this? I'm not saying they're current. I'm like, just hire people on where all they do is just, fix bugs. That's their entire job. It's just
More people worked on this game than worked on Breath of the Wild. So
really,
that should tell you it's not a
really.
personnel issue.
I did not know that.
But they worked on Breath of the Wild for like 6 years, and they worked on this for probably 3 years. I think is the current Pokemon dev cycle. So yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah,
Fair
it's
enough.
a
All right.
time issue.
It,
I think it's absolutely a time issue. They tried to make an open world game from scratch, essentially, in 3 years, and that's just not enough time.
Yeah, I'm with you. You said this before, and I was like, yeah, how much? But I am wholeheartedly at this point with you. Like I'm not like I said, Scarlet and Violet is no way like it has not broke the camel's back for me personally. I don't think it's gonna break the camel back. I know we haven't got to the end game issues with the battling system and stuff. You know me, I'm probably still a good month away from seriously getting into the battle circuit. So I'm hoping that's gonna be fixed. But I'm not gonna lie, assuming I don't like marathoning the game to get to like my battle stuff because like I still want to enjoy the game. I know some people they're just like, yo, I want to beat this game in 2 hours so I can start min maxing a team. I'm like, I still want to enjoy it, but I'm not gonna lie. If I was one of those people who bomb rushed the game, skipped like did the bare minimum story details I could to get to the end game so I can start doing that, I would probably be extremely upset. So I'm just hoping that since I take my time and try to enjoy the game before I start spending sleepless nights worrying over like 2 bits of like battle data, that that's fixed. But yeah, there's way too many issues for this game. Like again, I said this like last time. Sword and Shield's issues weren't like performance or this is broken, and it was more like philosophical issues. Like does this matter? Should this matter in this game? But now that those issues are now, in this generation, ironically, they've been reframed. No one cares about none of the Pokemon, all the Pokemon being there. Now they're like, the game's busted. And, that's just never a good spot to be in because there's no way to argue that. And I want to say, as someone who keeps saying Xenoblade 3 Chronicles does not look like a good game for a major JRPG, and people are just saying it looks good when they know it doesn't, I must admit, yes, Pokemon looks bad. If I have to keep that opinion... but I will say, like Xenoblade, it has its moments where it looks good.
Mm-hmm. It does, yeah. It has its moments where it looks nice, I think. They're few and far between from my experience, but they're in there. But I want to ask you more about kind of some of the specifics. What do you think of the open world? What do you think of being able to tackle these in any order without any level scaling? How are the Titan battles going for you? Like, what do you think of all the major changes that they made here?
So it's weird because the level scaling is stupid, first and foremost, because I got 3 badges and I got level 50 Pokemon. And
yep.
I mean,
you're gonna steamroll through the rest of the game unless you change your team.
Oh, I pretty much got 3 mainstays. They're not going nowhere, so they're just gonna keep going higher and higher. But and I rotate the other 3 out so I can get the evolutions and stuff, things like that nature. So that's the where I'm going until I find that 4th, and then I rotate 2 out. It's interesting because I feel it works more often than not. Other than it's weird. It's one of those things there should have been simple changes. Like for example, I don't understand this. Every time you get a new badge, the Pokemon I listen to goes up by 5 levels. I'm like, bro, what do you think I did? I ran here in a straight line and with blinders on and caught nothing and battled nothing. I gained 5 levels by taking a stroll outside, but it's weird. The open world's great. I think how the path I've been taking, how it's layered, makes sense. The Pokemon scaling doesn't make sense. You can gain levels pretty quickly, and I feel like the 3rd gym, the Pokemon should be at level 40s at least, but they're in the 20s, and I'm like. We're not playing as they're still caught up in the last gen. They haven't really grasped how things work. But other than the level scaling, I think the Titan thing is cool. I thought when I first initially saw Team Starfall in that 3rd story, I was like, this is stupid. But it actually has a story that kind of makes sense. I'm intrigued. I am intrigued about the team story, which I can say I haven't been for the past 3 generations. I thought Team...
what, since Black and White? Probably.
Yeah, because I forgot what the wannabe thugs from Alola called Team Skull. That was stupid.
Hmm.
Team Yell,
Team
which
Flare was bad. Team
yeah,
Yell was terrible.
yeah, they're not even like a bad. They're just like we cheer for this girl, but
Hmm.
we don't. But we also like break a window occasionally. I don't. I don't even
Uh-huh.
really know.
The biggest crime in the Pokemon universe is breaking a window.
Yeah, like no. Okay, y'all know I love Black and White. Y'all know I harp about it. But me and my friend talk about this. And Black 2 and White 2, your path is changed due to a literal terrorist attack. They blew up a main bridge. It was closed off. The police had warrants for 3 ninjas. Like, it blows my mind how serious the story, like even the philosophical is dog fighting and forcing Pokemon into forced labor and battle right. Like,
Hmm.
there was so much great about that story, and then like I don't know, maybe it was too like mature, and that's why it just got progressively dumber in my opinion from there. But I don't know. But yeah, Team Starfall is actually a more interesting concept than I thought it was. So I've been enjoying that. It's not bad. I'm not saying it's like great, but I don't know. I'm really enjoying the 3 stories. The one of the stories being just get the badges. Everything outside the let me put this. Everything outside the level scaling is working for me.
Which let me kind of get into my experience in the last week. You're kind of at the turning point of when that rears its head a little bit more and becomes kind of really bad. And what I mean is that I really liked it initially, where it's like, oh, you can go. I went over to this gym battle while the person I was playing with went Titan, and it's like, wow, that was cool. We did these things separately, had a slightly different experience. But with no scaling at all, and the fact that gym leaders only use 3 Pokemon for the majority of the game, like there just needs to be a change. Like you should only be able to use as many Pokemon as they have, or something like that. And I one shot the last 2 Titans I faced. Like I knocked down the Titans in one hit. They have 2 phases, right? You hit them once and they run away, or you kill them once they run away and then you kill them again. Yeah, I one shot them both times, and it's like, man, what? There's no challenge anymore. And like you said, I don't even fight trainers in the wild. I just catch Pokemon, and that is the only thing I do to level up is catch wild Pokemon. I don't even fight wild Pokemon. I catch wild Pokemon, and I do the 18 main objectives, and I am so insanely over leveled that the last 4 or 5 objectives, I one shot the gym leaders teams and I one shot the Titans. And yeah, I know that I could make it more difficult. I could switch out my team, but I'm attached to my Pokemon, right? That's a
Yeah,
big part of these games is growing attached to your party and leveling them up. So I don't want to trade out some of the people that I really really like. Like Clodsire is one of my favorite Pokemon ever now. The new evolution of Wooper is amazing. He's great.
he has those
He's in my
spikes that
party.
come out. Yeah, like, yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, and he one shot a Titan, and I'm like, I'm not going to stop using him because I love him, but I'm winning everything. So it's like they need to rethink it. And then kind of a thought that just clicked when you were talking, Odell, is you said that the when you get a gym badge, it levels up the Pokemon that will listen to you by 5 levels. That to me kind of negates the incentive of exploring this open world you built, because it's like if you go to the north point of the map, I haven't even been up there. I assume there's the strongest wild Pokemon up there because it's kind of like there's this huge snowy tundra. It just kind of seems end gamey to me. Let's say you go up there and catch like a level 55 wild Pokemon with no gym badges. It'd be awesome if you pulled that off, but then you can't use it until you beat like 6 gyms. And it's like, so why did I go and do that and have this adventure to get something I can't even use, right? Like, if you look at some, and I know some games do this, some games gate you from using something. Like Elden Ring does this. It gates you from using a certain weapon until you have a certain attribute in that stat. But if we compare this to like Breath of the Wild, which is one of the things this is most directly going for in a lot of ways, it's like if you go to the hardest point of the map first, kill a Lionel you shouldn't have been able to kill, get its spear, and it's like, you can't use this until you complete 10 more shrines. Like, it's really antithetical to the point of the open world when it's like, I just caught this thing, but now I can't use it until I beat all the gyms. So that it's like you said, the gym structure is still very much set up for a linear game where you go straight 1 through 8 in a non-open world fashion. So if they're going to return to this gym structure, they need to rethink how it works.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the show before. Forgive me if I have, but there's a piece of lore from the Pokemon anime that I always thought interesting. I thought they were gonna do this is so the way the anime explained this whenever a season explained it is a gym leader. You know, a gym leader, of course, is like someone who's clearly a skilled trainer. They know how to fight, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
What they do is they use a team based off how many badges a trainer has when they come to them. For example, Pewter City might be the sixth gym, not the first gym a trainer goes to. So a gym leader will be
Because
like,
not everyone's from Pallet Town, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone lives in that 4-house town.
yeah. So per the anime, again, this is not lore in from the game, but lore from the anime is like
Yeah.
a gym leader will be like, oh, this is a fledgling trainer. It's not that I'm gonna give him a gimme. I'm gonna use like, some Pokemon I caught like 3 days ago. Or, maybe like some Pokemon that I have specifically that are lower leveled for this occasion. Versus like, oh, this person has like 4 or 7 badges. I can use, my serious team or a slightly, a team appropriate for this challenge to where, okay, if I use like the best of my best, I would just steamroll them. But I'm going to use like some Pokemon that I'm still training up to be something. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. Because I always wondered that like, some like there's new trainers every day. Like how like what if you live in Blackthorn? You're just gonna fight a Dragonair with your Chikorita, like. And so I thought what the game was gonna do is like, okay, like the immediate gyms like to the left or right were gonna be probably like 1 to 20. They probably weren't gonna change. They're assuming this has to be your first point, and then the other gyms would scale up. Like, okay, the second you get a second badge, outside of like maybe like the intro gyms, the first 2 to the left or right, it goes, okay, these gymless Pokemons just shot up 10 levels. And they didn't shoot up 10 levels from like 10, like, the further out, like they're like, okay, this gym is like base level 30 or 40s, right? Just in case you decide to just steamroll it over there, right? It'll be like not unbeatable, but maybe you'll see and be like, oh, they're level 40s and I'm level like 27. Not unbeatable, but I need to go train some more. But if you come back to that gym and it's your last gym, okay, they're like at level 70 because they hit 10 levels, for each gym badge you acquire from whatever base level they set. I thought it was going to be something of that nature, which I feel like would be a perfect balance because you could still come in there OP. Let's just say I'm just out here training and not going to gyms. And, clearly they would cap at, I assume, 60 to 70. They probably wouldn't, have it be any higher than that. And that just made sense to me because there's a gym in the bottom left corner of the map that's inaccessible. You need, like, I assume, like, your Pokemon to climb, swim, fly, and everything that it could possibly do to just reach the town. I'm like, okay, this gym is clearly gated. I'm not gonna be here anytime soon, so I'm not gonna, like, explore that. And I get that, maybe have, like, 2 of the gyms, 1 of the gyms being like, okay, we clearly want this to be, like, one of the final challenges, so it's not that you can't go there, but we're really just going to gate it. That's just how it's going to work. But I'm like, if that was the case, then you should have probably gated more of the gyms. Or, had some... Because that just makes sense to me. Get a new badge. All other gyms go up 10 levels. And maybe you have a cap for the ones closer to the school.
No, it does make more sense. And it makes more thematic sense, too. Like you said, because it's like, really? Are some of the gym leaders just that bad at Pokemon training that they're just rolling out these level 50? Nimona, your rival, even kind of does that. Like, it's not scaled within the actual game mechanics, but she was champion rank last time they did this scavenger treasure hunt thing. And now she's like, oh, I'll use these new ones I just caught against you. And then later on, she's like, oh, I'll use these ones I've been training up because you're ready for it. So she even kind of says that idea. It's like they just need to take it a step further, actually implement it into the gameplay. Yeah, I think it makes a lot more sense. And then it would add to the replay value too. Like the gym that you played first in one playthrough, play the whole game again, go their 8th, see like what team they have that's radically different than what they had the first time through. Like, yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah. All right, have you heard about the issues with the end game?
Okay, so the only thing I heard about was like so I don't know if this is like official battles or just specifically the Terra Raid battles, but you could basically you could do a setup that makes one-hit KO moves always hit. They have, for those who don't know, they have a low percentage rate of hitting, like let's just say 5%. I don't know what the actual percent is off the top of my head. but you could turn that 5 into a guaranteed 100 and basically, one shot everything that comes your way.
Yeah, so this is the biggest issue in the game right now, in my opinion. This is in the battle stadium, which is where you can do ranked battles, which is where people will actually compete online to improve their ranking. It's not just casual battles with your friends. This is where you go to fight strangers on the internet to try and improve your ranking.
Be the very
best. And right now, it seems like that one seed is all that is used in every battle stadium battle that is ever carried out. So for a seed, think like Minecraft. It's like if every Minecraft generated world looked exactly the same, right? Because Minecraft worlds are generated on a seed. That seed then determines what the world looks like. Well, Pokemon battles generally have a randomized seed, so you don't know how the battle's going to play out, right? Like, is this move going to miss on the first turn? Is the user's move on the second turn going to hit? This is all very basic explanation, just so the listeners get it. But in the battle stadium right now, basically, it's guaranteed to be the same sequence every time. And they figured this out because someone was using a 90% accuracy move to open up a battle stadium battle. They did it 14 times in a row, and the move missed on the opening move all 14 times in a row. And that is a 1 in 100 trillion chance of that happening. So they figured, okay, those odds are too low. Something broken is happening here. And then through some other experimentation, some players figured out, the battle plays out the exact same time every single time. So basically, it's like if you use a one-hit KO as like the fourth move of the fight or something like that. That's not exact, just an example. It hits every time. So you just need to wait it out, use it in the fourth turn, and then you knock out the Pokemon with a one-hit go. So Battle Stadium is essentially useless right now because who's going to do that when these players have figured it out?
Yeah, like who's going to show up and like get their win-loss ratio just obliterated by people who are like, I don't care. I don't care about honor.
Yep. Yeah. So, stay away from the Battle Stadium right now. It is not worth going into because it's broken. And then there's some issues with the endgame Terra raids, but it's a little spoilery, so I won't get into it. But unfortunately, it seems like right now, two of the biggest issues from a gameplay perspective affect the most hardcore community of Pokemon players.
And I talked about this at the top where I was like, well, thank God, I wasn't those people who, bomb rush to the end. I mean, this is just unacceptable. Like that, as someone who, is a hardcore, player in the terms of battling, the mechanics and, the chessness of Pokemon, if you will. Like it's inexcusable. Like graphics is one thing, performance issues is one thing, but the literal, like, there's no way around this. It's like it's broken. Like this is something that needs to work. That's like the catching mechanic and Arceus not working. Like, then what's the point of the game?
Yeah. So they got to get on that, but I'm sure that's something they'll work on fixing first. Okay, that's Pokemon. Unless you have anything else you want to add before we move on, O'Dell.
I just want to say this really quick. If Game Freak, hell, even Nintendo, if no one says nothing about this game before we hit 2023, I will lose a lot of confidence that this game can survive through its shelf life. Like, I don't want Generation 9 to be this dark spot we have to forget about, but I'm getting a little antsy. Antsy. That's all I'm saying. I will say this: if we don't get no answer, like there needs to be a third box game. Like I don't know what the other legendaries are yet, so I can't say who would be on it. But I feel like if they're not gonna patch, if they're not gonna do this massive nothing, what they should be doing is taking this code, reworking it from the ground up, and giving us like a third box title that is magically the real game that we all just...
I'm not buying that. I'm not spending a dime on a version that works like this one should have. I think people would be irate if that's the route.
Oh no, they definitely would. Okay, how about this? What if we get a Cyberpunk situation where they're like, if you prove that you bought the game between these months, you can get the third game for free?
Sure, yeah.
Would you? Sure. Would you? Honestly, would you though? I know there's some people who wouldn't.
Yeah, I'd get it for free. Yeah. And I talk about it here, about how the open world is still broken, because that's really a bigger deal to me than the technical stuff is.
No, I mean, everything was more or less what it should be. I'm not saying 10 out of 10 perfect, but, open world, battles, the whole shebang, it looks pretty enough appropriate.
Yeah, you're dreaming. You're dreaming. That's not gonna happen.
You know what? It's
All
gonna
right.
happen, and it's gonna become with the Switch 2. There it is. That.
Which is coming out this year in the next 31 days. Okay, let's move on and talk about Splatoon 3 because Season 2 is now out. They're calling it Chill Season for the winter, also version 2.0, so pretty big update. It comes with a new catalog, 50 new items in the store, so basically, if you remember, the catalog is Splatoon 3's version of a battle pass, but it's free, which is very nice. There's 2 new stages. One is completely new. It's called Brinewater Springs, and the other is Flounder Heights, which is in Splatoon 1. It's like in a big apartment complex, but it skips Splatoon 2. There's also a Salmon Run stage returning from Splatoon 2. That one's called Marooner's Bay. And there are 3 new weapon types. The Snipe Rider, which is a sniper that can hold up to 5 shots at a time in a single charge. The Big Swig Roller, which is kind of a combination. It's kind of an in-between of the normal roller and the carbon roller because it covers more ink than the carbon roller, but is still very weak at attack damage. So kind of an interesting new mix there. And then the Splatter Shot Nova, which has very good range, but lower damage than the normal Splatter Shot. Kind of in between the normal and the Pro. There's also 10 new sets of existing main weapons with different loadouts. I think that there's probably one in there. You were looking for one when we were last playing, O'Dell. I don't remember what, but you wanted some difference. You wanted the stamp with your roller or something like that.
I wanted to stamp with my roller. That is exactly right.
I don't know. I think that might be in there. I'm not sure. Then there's X Battles, which is if you are a true tryhard, rank S, and you can enter X Battles, which are a new regional type battle. And then Big Run is finally here. This is when Salmon Run takes over the normal stages. The first one's on Wahoo World, and it's like a Splatfest, basically. It takes place from Friday to Sunday, and you just play Salmon Run on these normal maps for exclusive rewards. And the first one is 2 weekends from now. That is December 9th to December 11th on Wahoo World. I'm really looking forward to that. And then this last one, there's a ton of other little fixes to the game, like some connection issues should be patched up, a bunch of other little things, a lot of balance issues with some of the weapons. But I really like this tiny, tiny addition, which is that the song title and artist of the background music is now shown at the beginning of each match. So you launch in, the 3-minute timer starts for, and then in the bottom right, you see, oh, this is this song by this fictional Splatoon band. And I think that's really cool. I don't know why. Splatoon has really good world building and just a lot of detail. And I really like that tiny little addition. And it's like, oh, here's the artist playing the backtrack for this match. I think it's a pretty cool change.
You know, Splatoon, I used to always feel like when you be like, Splatoon is one of the big 3, big 4, what have you. And I'll be like, no, it's not. But like, I look at everything they're doing for this game, I'm like, damn, it really is though. It's a game that I don't play as much as I probably should, and I don't appreciate as much as I should, as in like the world and stuff, because I do find it fascinating. I just haven't delved into it that much.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where like, damn, Nintendo really put their foot in this in a good way. And the only thing I wish they would change is, because as an adult, I need Splatfest to be a full week, man. Like, I really wanted to take place in the Pokemon Splatfest, but like, that was the weekend before I was leaving. And I was like, man, I really want to play this, but like, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's just not enough time. I really wish they just expanded it for a full week. I don't know if that would like stress the servers out. I don't know if that would be bad on the back end. But the Splatoon update, when I was looking through everything and the changes, it's just like, This is like Nintendo's major esports. I mean, since they've shunned Smash to like oblivion. Where you at, Panda? That's who's running it now, right? Panda's
Panda.
Yeah, Panda. Yeah. We're talking about that next week, so I'll leave that for that. Mm-hmm. But it's just really amazing, man. Like, this is a fleshed out world that like it's gotten the attention Pokemon gets, like not Scarlet and Violet, but like in terms of lore and the things that don't have to do with the actual gameplay. This is the type of attention Zelda gets, Mario gets, and it's amazing, man. Like, I'm as someone who loves games, like, I'm in awe of the level of detail that's gotten to Splatoon. I think it's stupid that we're getting nonsensical music names to these nonsensical bands, but I personally think it's stupid, but like that is a great touch. That is like because people care about that. Like, there's plenty of people who see them like, that's cool as hell, and like they didn't have to do that, but they did. And I mean, if I log on and I can get my base roller with a stamp, I mean, it's on and popping.
Yeah, it was a big topic in the early episodes of this show was like, is Splatoon 3 necessary? Is it just going to be more of the same? And then what it is, yeah, it's more of the same, but it is more detailed than ever, more polished than ever, and bigger than ever. And like, yeah, the game just amazes me. I've fallen off a little more than I would have liked to. There's just so many games going on right now that it is hard to dedicate a huge amount of time to one ongoing online game like this. But whenever I do jump back in, I'm just instantly back into it, having a great time. I played the new maps today. Brine Springs, I think the community's already turning on because it has this. Basically, it's shaped like kind of like a Z, and on the edges of each one base. And in Splatoon, each map really varies in how close to the opponent's spawn point you can get and just kind of camp. And Brine Springs is one of the most egregious I've seen, where they can get right up on you, and there's really not many ways by them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they like add an update that makes one of those like little rails that you can ride to get down to the other side and kind of avoid them if they're camping at your spawn. But it's a cool idea. It's like a hot spring. I like the color palette. It's at like sunset golden hour, so it looks really visually nice. And then Flounder Heights is pretty much the same one from Splatoon 1, but I liked that one and then didn't come back in 2. And this is most people that have Splatoon 3's first time playing this since Splatoon 1 was on the Wii U. So it's pretty much like a new map for most people. So cool additions. And I'm excited for Big Run. I think that mixing up like every other month Splatfest Big Run, I think that's cool. It'll keep both feeling fresh and special when they come around. So yeah, excited to talk about impressions on that in a couple of weeks. But yeah, Splatoon 3 is just awesome. Polished, detailed. Took a long time to come out, but it was worth it because of everything they were able to do.
I feel like Nintendo needs to get like the developers of each title to like talk to each other and like share tips or something, because like Nintendo, it's so weird with Nintendo because it's like one game would do it so right, and then the next game, literally to the left or right of it, would do it so wrong. And I'm like, man, I don't know how the resources are divvied out or stuff. But I feel like, yo, man, like y'all are like on the same team to a certain degree. Do y'all not talk with each other? Do y'all not endow each other? It's the same hardware. Like
I've never to see what an internally made at Nintendo, not Game Freak, Pokemon game would look like.
Oh man, it'd probably blow us away.
It would probably be pretty dang great.
Yeah,
or even just I think I said this last week. Like I know it's difficult because Game Freak is not a Nintendo studio. They have a stake in it, but there's Pokemon Company, right? It's spread out across. But like Monolith Soft assisted on Splatoon, assisted on Animal Crossing, assisted on Zelda, while cranking out high quality Xenoblade games. Get them on some Pokemon projects. They know how to make these massive sprawling worlds with creatures roaming the overworld. Like, it seems like a natural fit to me. Like, help them out. Like, designate a team that, like, once Zelda's done or something, to get them on that, because that can make a big difference.
Yeah, man. I in my perfect world, I like to believe there's like an emergency response team. Like, Nintendo saw the reviews, they saw the issues, because especially with like So the thing that's really got me hopeful is just now the in-game issues with the terror raids and then with the battle stadium. Like, That's something you can't ignore. That's literally everything else they could get away with ignoring. I'm not saying they should, but they can get away with it. Let's be real. They could. Mm-hmm. If they chose to ignore it, nothing would happen. We complain about it, but we'll move on. Then you can't move on from this. Like, you literally can't. Like, you can't have worlds with a broken stadium system.
No.
Yeah, so now I like to think, okay, the emergency response team is here. Maybe like Nintendo, but I like to think someone is going like, look, you fix this or we fix this. And if we have to fix this, it's probably not gonna, be nice or, a way y'all would like. So I like to think there's like some emergency Nintendo, some Game Freak collab Nintendo response team. Think of Monsters Inc. when like, Contraband comes around. I think that it's like those guys. They're busting through the windows. They're kicking people out, and they're like just, on it 24/7. Hopefully, no crunch. Maybe a little crunch.
Hopefully. No. Okay. Anyways, that's Splatoon 3. Then bridge back to Pokemon, which I think is fair because one's extremely polished and looks great, and the other is neither of those things. But let's talk about Switch Sports Golf, which came out this week, 21 holes from the
Yay.
Wii Sports series.
Yippee.
O'Dell doesn't care. I'm keeping it quick. We're running short on time anyways. It is very, very fine. It is Wii Sports Golf that's back again. The motion controls feel a little inconsistent to me. Like, basically, they tell you to not curve your shots, just don't bend your wrists, and then I don't at all. And then it's like, oh, you bent your wrists like way. And I'm like, I didn't. Like, what do you want me to do? They want you to like do like a full golf swing, but unfortunately, the key to success, like most of Wii Sports, is to just like barely flick it. Like, you could never hit a golf ball with the motions I'm doing in Switch Sports Golf that are actually getting me the most success. So it's fine. It's pretty bland. Like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the Switch Sports art style very much. And I played on the resort holes, which come from Wii Sports Resort, which I love how that game looks. I love Woohoo Island. They took some of the whole designs and they're not on Woohoo Island anymore. They're just like in generic Spaco Square Switch Sports Land. I'm like, oh, I thought we were going to get to go to like a tropical paradise for this golf course. You don't. It's just pretty generic. I didn't try survival golf yet. I will, but I just don't know why this took so long to get here. It's just really my main. They delayed this. It wasn't at launch. For what reason? Yeah, it's
Tell us
fine.
the reason.
Yeah, I just want baseball, but I'm pretty sure this is the last of the support we're getting for Switch Sports.
Do you want baseball? What would you rather have? A baseball that's there and sucks horribly, or just no baseball at all?
Baseball that's there.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll take it.
You know, I'm still of the mindset that the best feature this game could have had that it refused to give us was just us to free roam the plaza because it looks really cool.
Yeah,
I think I would have
that
fun
would be
just
cool.
walking around that place and like find little sneak tidbits and I don't know, seeing like people play in real time. Kind of, it's probably just their names and whatever.
Yeah. We'll probably talk about this more in the end of your show, but I just want to bring it up now. I do feel like Nintendo released too many games intended to be live service this year. I feel like that we saw Switch Sports, a month and a half later was Strikers, and then 2 months after that was Splatoon, and then even to an extent Pokemon wants to keep you there with its Terra Raid battles. We've got a Charizard event coming up this weekend. We had the Eevee event last weekend, and it's like, I know you're playing to different audiences, but a lot of the people that play these games cross over to them, right? Like, I don't think there's many people out there that play Mario Strikers but aren't interested in Splatoon or Pokemon. So I tried to find an online match in Switch Sports, and it took multiple minutes because people just aren't playing it anymore. And Strikers has such little offline content. That game died like 2 weeks after release. And it's like, so what's really there now? So I think that's kind of a weird problem, is that too many games that they released heavily leaned on online this year, including Switch Sports. And it's like, I'm going to play Splatoon because that's a better game than Switch Sports. And I'm a Nintendo user. I think most Nintendo users will get their online elsewhere. Even Mario Kart is getting online tracks that they want you to hop online and play. And it's like they're dividing our attention between so many different things that it's no wonder that Switch Sports and Strikers died pretty instantly after release.
Yeah, and I feel like just to add on to that, is you didn't even put enough there for people to want to stay around. It would be different if it's like, oh man, look like all these games have Splatoon level content. I'm excluding Mario Kart 8 because that content is endless at this point, and
yeah,
people are gonna come back, and it's amazing. It's a great game. Moving on. But like Splatoon's there, like I'm not playing Splatoon because I gotta play Sonic. I'm playing Pokemon. Like, God knows I'm gonna play Splatoon again for like any considerable amount of time. But its content's there. I know it's there. I know when I go there, I'll find matches. It's gonna be a great time. There's no reason to go back to Strikers. There's no reason to go back to Switch Sports. It's not like, oh, I don't have the time. It's like, but why would I? There's nothing there. It's like it's so much there. I'm like, why even have an online mode?
Kirby, I knew I was forgetting one. Kirby's Dream Buffet had all these cosmetics you could only unlock by playing online, and now there's nobody playing. So yeah, it's a problem. Well, we should talk more about that in the end of your show in a couple of weeks. Last thing, real quick. There is another new Fire Emblem Engage trailer. that shows off how the emblem rings mechanic works. It's a 6-minute trailer, and honestly, O'Dell, it boosted my hype for this game pretty considerably. I think it looks very, very cool. Basically, you can pair up the emblem rings contain the classic Fire Emblem characters. You can pair them up with any character in your party from the new game, the new characters in Engage, and then it just adds this whole new layer of strategy because if you activate Engage, it doesn't just bring up like Marth next to the character. They actually like merge and form this like new looking character that's like floating and has like wings and like a halo over them. Like, it looks totally different. And then they're super powered basically for 3 turns. Each ring has a special ability. Like, one can like fly through enemies, and like if you fly through like a straight line of 4 enemies, it hurts them all along the way. Another one just boosts your movement, so you can move like 5 extra spaces in a turn, and that goes away after 3 turns, and then takes 5 turns to recharge. And so you kind of have to think, okay, when do you want to use your Engage at the optimum moment? It looks really, really cool. A new element to gameplay that I thought might feel a little gimmicky, but it does look very deep and fleshed out. So yeah, if you're interested, go check out that trailer. It does show a lot of characters, so if you don't want to see anything else, stay away. But yeah, Engage is looking very, very good.
Yeah, I watched. Well, first of all, I know your worry was that you thought it was like the ring was going to be permalink to a character and yada yada. So I'm pretty sure you were excited about that. When I was watching it, at first my worry was like, oh man, this looks like not an insta win button, but like definitely. But then like once I saw it, this is the thing: Fire Emblem games are notoriously hard, people. So I was like, once I saw it, I was like, dear God, how hard these battles gonna be? To where they're gonna let you use this for 3 turns and let you use it again after a recharge span. Like, Fire Emblem games are not the type of games like you. If it does this means you will need to do this. This isn't like, oh, look how cool this is. You can mix. Like, no, I'm already thinking like, okay, there's gonna be battles where I'm gonna watch a YouTube video and I'm gonna be like, look, if you want to beat this battle, this is what you need to do. Give this ring to this person and like do this strat. Because I'm not gonna lie, there was 2 battles in Awakening. I had to do that because I just had to make sure I wasn't crazy. And the battles, they weren't like you need to do this strat, but it was like if you don't want to bang against your wall against the head, this isn't an instant win. But like this is like one of the few viable things you can do to make this battle obtainable. So I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but once I saw like it in detail, I was like, dear God, this game is gonna be hard as I don't know, PG word. I can think of a PG word.
Hard as PG word. Yeah, I'm curious about that because you're right. They are notoriously hard until 3 Houses, which was incredibly easy if you'd played any other Fire Emblem for it. I've said from the beginning, I'm planning to play this one on hard, so I'm excited to see kind of how I have to use the Engage mechanic. Hard and classic, you lose your units, they're gone. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But and then it does look kind of like a fun superpowered move if you're playing on one of the easier difficulties. But that game's a month and a half away. Very excited for it. We'll talk about a lot more in the coming weeks. But for now, that's another episode of the Toadstool Boardroom in the Books, our weekly Nintendo show here on Thursdays at noon Eastern, 3 p.m. Sorry, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. There we go. You can find us on Twitter at ToadstoolBR. Email us toadstoolboardroom@gmail.com. You can find O'Dell on Twitter at
Odell Harmon Jr.
You can find myself at Logan J. Plant. Chris Driver will be back in 2 weeks. Next week, O'Dell and I will be here talking about new Mario Kart tracks and all the drama surrounding Super Smash Brothers right now. So look forward to that. But for now, have a great week. We'll catch you next time right back here in the Toadstool Boardroom.